Okay, so I don't know if anyone's actually here yet. If anyone is, then say something so I know that you are. But regardless, so for the people watching this maybe later recorded on video, this is what I'm working on. I need your help. So what you're seeing here is some code. I'm going to zoom that code in. The thing I need your help with occurs in each of these objects here. So each of these represents a different coin or a different token. So we have AnySwap, RAI Finance. So what I did is I went out, I was asked to work on this by Dave Poole, and I went out and grabbed a few people who I thought knew a thing or two and asked them for ideas for coins that they'd want to compare. So basically the purpose of this is to compare the holder distribution or the coin distribution across holders for all these different coins. Of course, our operative one here being Hoj, but I think the outcome of this will be pretty interesting regardless. This is a list as it exists right now. Let me comment this out. So this list, AnySwap, RAI, Unilend, Audius. I don't even know what some of these are. Or I don't know what most of these are, but this is a list that was given to me by a few people, Zembeck and Dave Poole and some other people that just I thought would have ideas of interesting coins to compare in this way. And what I've done is I've started writing a script that will basically go through each of these coins and each of their chains and write a spreadsheet for each coin with all the holder data from each chain. Where I need help is twofold. For one, we can flesh this list out. We could add more coins here. This is not necessarily the best list or the most complete list at all. It's just a list that people come up with sort of off the top of their heads. I think the three that I'm most interested in are Hoj, SafeMoon, and Everrise for a variety of reasons. But we're gonna ideally go through all of these, and ideally go through all of the chains that they exist on. So this is where it gets really tricky, and the other sort of part of the coin of what I need help with. And we're going to get to looking at data here in a second. I do want to dig into some stuff because this works right now, and I'll show you how shortly here. So we've got again, like all these objects, and it's surprisingly hard to find out how many chains each of these coins are on. Even in the telegrams of these coins, I'm finding them in the SafeMoon telegram right now, and they're simply not answering my question. I'm asking them for all of their contract addresses, and I guess they're kind of doing damage control right now. They've got a 15-minute cooldown on all their comments on their telegram, so nothing's happening there. I'm not succeeding to that end, and this is not my forte. I'm not a guy that deals in these coins enough to know. I'm not in the sort of community at large of crypto. I'm interested in the specific lane that I'm in. So what I need is people who are sort of more socially active in this space to try and think of the 3 or 4 coins or 1 or 2 coins or whatever that you're specifically interested in, whether they're on the list that I showed or not. And the list will be in the description of this video once it's finished, and I'll give some instructions on sort of what I'm trying to achieve here. I'll maybe make a Google Doc or something actually and just share that so people can kind of fill it out as they find stuff. But I need to find, first of all, of course, add more coins to this would be ideal. But even more than that, I really need to find the other chains that some of these exist on, because I do suspect that a lot of these things aren't just on the Ethereum chain, especially the more developed coins. And I also need to write a piece that actually deals with the Doge. Doge is on its own blockchain, so it's not, this BSC is, I don't even know what this is. We can take a look at this. Let me add my browser as a source. Again, if you're in here and you're chatting, say something so I know I'm not talking to myself, but even if I am talking to myself, I suppose that's okay. Alright, we're going to change. I'm also not very good at Streamlabs. Let me kill some other stuff here. That didn't work. Bear with me here. I'm trying to get my browser to show up. Maybe I will oh, here we go. Okay, so this is the address I was just looking at for Doge, and you know, this is where I would say sort of be careful, because if you start typing these in, you know, like if you just Google like BSC Doge, let's see, kind of toggle these on and off. Oh fuck. Okay, this is gonna be a problem. So if you just kind of Google BSC Doge, then you're gonna find this page. But I think this is like nothing. This is like Binance pegged Dogecoin. It does sort of trend. So I think that's something to look for when you're doing this is see that the price trends with what the actual price of the thing is. So I think this one actually does make sense to include in this sort of project, because this is ultimately representation of Dogecoin. It just happens to be pegged to Binance. But yeah, so we want to sort of add to this list. Yeah, so let me switch back to the code. We can sort of briefly look at that. Not that you necessarily want to that bad, but I'm going to swing for the fences here and try not to show you something that I don't mean to. Okay, sweet. That looks right. Maybe. Yeah, okay. So here's the code again. So what this is doing basically is going through each of these contracts, or each of these coins, and it's saying for each coin, for each contract, ETH, and so forth, do something. Right now I've only got the Ethereum part built out. The other parts won't be hard. It's actually going to be pretty easy. But basically the way this works is it's using ETHPLUR for the purposes of the Ethereum part. It's going through each line. It's basically requesting the address with the ETHPLUR URL that I have, going through each line, and then if the line includes the term address, it's going to do something with that line. So basically, or sorry, if the first 7 characters include the term address, or are the term address, it's going to do something with that line. The thing it's doing with that line is it's looking for a set of different words: burn, exchange, and holder. Or sorry, burn and exchange. So if it has either of these 2 words, then it handles those lines differently. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second when we start looking at this data. But when you request this stuff, the first line, this is very much in the weeds stuff that you guys don't need to even care about. But when you request this stuff, the first line is a description of the coin itself and sort of its volume and things like that. So the first thing it's doing is it's looking for that contract, and that line includes the contract address itself, the contract of the coin. So if the line that we're looking at includes that address, then we ignore it. But anyway, so what that does, and then it goes through and it makes a table. So right now, again, only the ETH part's wired up in this code, but I already have the code for the BSC Phantom and XDAI because I pull that for Hoj in another process. So let's look at some of the stuff that it makes. Let's look at Hoj because that's our focus. Let's go to Hoj Finance. So basically it's doing several of these things sort of semi-concurrently. I have a 30-second delay that runs between each request, so the date stamps on these things are going to be a little bit different, just because I don't want to overload the API. But here's an example. So here's the Hoj one, right? So if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen something like this before. this is just the Ethereum part of the Hoj chain. So again, once I get the rest of it wired up, you'll see all the rest of the coins. But here's where we're at using that script. Now let's flip over before we get to some other coins and just do the whole Hoj spiel. So that this spreadsheet you're about to see was written at 9 o'clock, which is right now. So yeah, cool. This is this second, or this minute's spreadsheet. So what we're seeing here, and I want to break a little bit of this down and show you what I'm looking at. This is what we're going to be looking at in the broader scope of this part of the project anyway. Let's see. Sorry. So is the God, I think I am recovering from coronavirus. So what we're seeing here, I said before, the script pulls some other terms like burn and exchange. So when it does that, that was down here, burn, exchange. When that occurs, it pulls out these terms and it makes things like this. So you're seeing the burn address, you're seeing each exchange, and with the way I'm doing this, we're going to be able to see this same stuff for all these other coins on the Ethereum chain at least, which would be kind of cool. I think we can do some kind of comparison of like who's on the most, who has the highest proportion of their exchange wallet or exchange address Hoj on which exchange, right? So we can like break things out like that, but that's not the purpose of this conversation. So let's look at these titles. I like to go through here first just to see if there's anything funky in here. Sometimes there is funky stuff in here, and this is a little bit of the transparency part of the Hoj transparency. So let's take a look at that. So let's go to data. We're going to go to standard filter. We're going to filter column D. We're going to say where it is not holder, not holder. Okay, so here are the named, titled holders in that sheet. I think we've gone through this in other conversations, but there's nothing new here. We're seeing Whitebit, Gate, PDO. These are the three main exchanges, and then we have the HIT BTC, which is an exchange that a lot of us suspect was just sort of somebody gave this address some coins. So let me check and make sure my sound is working because I'm not hearing anything. Sweet, it is. All right, so Vitalik is on here. He's been on here. He still only holds like 9 Hoj. That's great. And then healthcare, we've talked about that in the past. It's just a weird named holder count. All right, so let's jump off of here. We'll not save that. Okay, so trying to get people in. Nobody wants to join this puny chat. So what are we going to do next? So let's take a look now at a different coin. So the first one I want to look at, just because this is the hot button, I want to show what the intention of this whole thing is. This new sort of sub-project that I'm working on. So let's look at this other coins. We're going to take a look at, we'll do SafeMoon, and we'll do, something went wrong with Everrise, so we'll skip that for now. Let's just take a look at SafeMoon. Here's a list of all of the coins that you saw in that list, the ETH part of those coins at least, if they had an ETH address. And you'll see some of these have one kilobyte. That's because there was an issue. I think maybe Everrise doesn't have. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay. So it's writing these 1 kilobyte files when there's no Ethereum contract, but that's okay. We can deal with that later when we add the BSC part of this in. So we've got Hoj. Let's just do like a little mock presentation of what this would look like. So we'll look at Hoj. We'll look at we said SafeMoon, and we can look at DEX. Let's do that one too. Okay. Alright, so there's DEX tools. Here's the Hoj one. And let's take a look at SafeMoon. Okay. So again, this is just on the Ethereum blockchains. This is all coming from ETHPLOR, which is the thing that Etherscan uses. If you want to learn more about that, I have a video that talks. It's like a little clickbaity video talking about like, are people leaving Hoj? And in that video, I think you'll see sort of what the implications are of ETHPLOR and Etherscan being our sort of de facto source of truth for how many holders are. I think it's a little not biased. It's a little misleading, and I think you'll learn something from that video. So maybe go back and check that one out. But so here's excuse me. Here's a SafeMoon address, and I like to go through here first and just sort of confirm that these are correct. Let's go ahead and format this as a number like that. Okay, so first thing I want to do is make sure that whatever this wallet is reflects this. And this is a big fucking number, so we got hundreds, thousands, millions, billions. I think we're up to zillions there. Anyway, let's take a look. I suspect that's their burn address, which is fine. That will help us make sure we're looking at the right thing here. So here's what happened when I googled that. 371, 152, 876. 371. So that means, what that means, I would say what that means is that that address gained. Oh, where'd that number go? Hang on. Here it is. 371, 152. This number here. So what I'm trying to do now is a couple of things. We're going to insert a row here, put that number in there, and copy and paste the formatting. Okay, so interesting. So right off the bat, I can tell you that we are not formatting these numbers correctly. There is an issue, and I should have accounted for this. I'll fix this in the script. But basically, Etherscan and ETHPLOR, or the ETHPLOR API returns values in a multiple of a billion. So you have to divide by like nine zeros or something. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll put this value here. Delete this row. Okay, so now what we want to do is make sure that we're getting this one. I think that's right. Let's see. What the fuck? Oh, B2. And this should be. Okay, so yeah, so there's a little discrepancy here. That's just because of the, it's been 8 minutes since this was pulled. Actually, probably more because of that 30-second sort of delay that I implement. So this just means that the wallet address, the burn address has gained 100,000 or 100 million, I guess, tokens in that 8 minutes. I'm not going to talk about what that might mean, but I'll let you guys speculate about SafeMoon on your own. So let's go ahead and take this value. So the purpose of that was to divide that down to the correct value. So there's that. And so what we have to do now is copy and paste special. So what this is doing, so right now this is a formula. Because we're going to delete this column, we're going to paste special, and that's going to be a number. And we lost our title there. All right, so now you've got these values. We can just go in here and overwrite these and delete this. All right, so now we've normalized our balances here. So thinking about like how we're going to compare these things, we want to get away from the idea of raw magnitudes of value. So we don't want to say like X number of people hold over 100 zillion SafeMoon, and only those people only hold over 100 million Hoj or whatever. Like, that's not. We're trying to do this like multi-dimensional comparisons. It's not going to be helpful. So we need to look at proportions. So the first thing I want to do, I was thinking about this earlier, so what we really want to figure out here, so let's say 1%, shit. Okay, let's format this again. So we're going to format these as text, or yeah, text. Okay, this is going to be 1%, 2%. Oops. If I could type, that would be good. 3%. Let's just do down to 25%. This is just a quick sort of slapdash, like figure this shit out thing. So what do we want to know is what proportion of the total sum of Hoj the top 1% of holders are holding. Unfortunately, I need to go back and look at this. This may not be their burn address. I don't really know what that is. But if it is their burn address, then I need to. Oh, this is what this is. Okay, so first of all, SafeMoon is a BSC token. This is called a P token for SafeMoon, and this is not super necessary to know, but ultimately there's only 3,602 holders of this thing. This is a SafeMoon that's pinned to Ethereum. It's basically wrapped SafeMoon. This isn't going to be a great tech analysis of like SafeMoon at large, because we need to do the BSC part. But I think this will still be something interesting to kind of look at and just get the scaffolding of how we want to analyze this stuff later on. So again, like top users or holders. Right, so top 1% holders, 2% holders. So how do we get that number? So we need to know, so we have this rank ordered by balance, and we do. And really this should be, oh, okay, well. So another thing I want to look at, this is a tangent, sorry, but is how many dust accounts are in each coin and what proportion of dust account. And we'll get there later on, but we'll put a pin in that. So I'll do. Let's just type dust accounts. Cannot type. All right, so and we'll do that for Hoj as well. So these are the two main matrices. So top holders, and then we want to say, and I'm just trying to figure out if this is actually like fundamentally different from top holders, but basically like top coins, I guess, or so we're gonna say like the top 1% holds X% of the coins. Then we can say the top X% of the coins are held by the X% holders. So I think those numbers will be very close, but similarly different, or slightly different enough that we can, use them as in two separate ways. So first let's look at this top holders. So we're going to say the top 1% of holders hold what percent of the total. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get a count. We need to figure out what the top 1% is. So let's see, how do I automate? Automating this is going to be tricky, but let's see. So how do we get so we know the count of holders. So here's all of our holders. So they're 3,061, and of course, again, this is that pegged SafeMoon, not the official one that probably has a zillion holders, and that part's going to be something to deal with as well, but we'll get there. So here's our count. So we want to find the top 1%. So times 1%. I think I'm doing this right. So the top 36. Yeah, this is how we do this. Okay, so we're going to say the top 36 holders hold what percent of the coin, right? So what we need to do, I'm going to just insert another column just because I'm lazy. So we're going to do numbers here. I'm going to take these, pull them down to 25. Okay, so really this should be times, and then we're going to do this value times 0.01. Okay. So, oh, now we need to get our range correct. So I'm going to do $B, $2. I know this is small. Let's zoom in a little bit. Sorry, it's big on my screen. Okay, so again, $B, $2. So we're binding the range. So now if I click in here, you see this blue, and if I drag this down now, you'll see that it's still the same range for each column. So we need to do so there are the top 25%. So this times 4. So we check our math here. Is 3601, and we said that our count of all of them is 3601. So there you go. So basically, the top 900 people represent the top 25 holders in this data set, which again is not what we're going to end up with, but we're just trying to sort of probe this and see what we're going to end up with in this analysis later on. Okay, so we want to say now among the top 36 holders. Now this is going to be tricky. I may have to do this manually. So how can we grab just 36 rows here? Well, here's how we can do it. Here's how we can do it actually. We can round this down. Is it low? Floor? Oh yeah, floor. Floor is what you use in Python. So that's handy that's the same thing here, I think. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so 36. Okay, so now we've got our number value. So now, and I know we're kind of making a lot of columns here. We can go through and label them later if we want to, but so here we're saying the top 36 represent the top 1%. All right, so we're going to say equals sum. We don't even need an if here. We don't need an if. Equals sum of, and this may not work. I haven't actually done this. B2 to B. Let's see. Not a number of trials. There's no way that works. No. Okay. So really what I want to do is just use this 36 up here, but I can't do that. That's okay. So what we can just do is just manually type. So 36 B36. And that is our, so this is our sum of top X, right? So now we can do this here. We need to change all these values, unfortunately. So this is, and when we do this, I think finally we're probably not going to do every single percentage up to 25%. We'll probably do a much more appropriate 108 range. But for now, again, just doing some freestyle statistics. If this is even statistics, maybe not. I am not a statistician. I don't even get to work with data that much at work anymore, which kind of sucks. I went to grad school. I took a stats class. This is not grad school style stats. This is middle school stats applied to an interesting subject. let's see, 320. All right, I'm gonna get lazy here, so you guys aren't just watching me type numbers. Let's go up to 10, and then we'll skip to 25. 360. So I'm gonna explain what I'm doing here one more time, just because this is confusing even for me. But let's move this up. Yeah, that looks... Oh, okay, so we've already fucked up. So this needs to be bound. This needs to be B2. So for each of these, see, it's really important to do that, to kind of set that up right the first time, especially if you're doing something like this where you're doing a really weird manipulation of the formula. Don't use a $ in the formula if you want the reference cell to automatically increase as you apply it across the range. Yeah, we don't want to increment. So in this case, this needs to be up here basically. This needs to not move. But yes, you're correct. That's the purpose of the $. So the issue that, well, anyway, you can go back and watch the video and see why I'm doing this so manually. But all right, so let's move this up. Okay, so let's recap. Let's finish this. I'm being a lazy person. 900. Okay, so let's recap this. What does this represent one more time? So we've got a number. So the top 1% of their holders in this data set, which again is not the actual SafeMoon data set. This is the wrapped Ethereum SafeMoon, as far as I can tell. And I watch the appeal at the beginning of the video to see how you can help me get this right. But so I've got top 1% of holders in that data set. Let's format this. I'm tired, guys. So tired. Format. Oh, I should be right-clicking. Format cells. Okay. So here's our formatted cells. Now that's not what we want, though. We want the percentage, because this number is huge, but we're trying to compare this to other... Oh, sorry, I can zoom in more. Let me zoom in more. We don't need to see most of this shit. Here we go. Now that should be helpful. Okay, so this is as far as I can zoom in. Okay, so again, this is the sum of the SafeMoon held by the top 1% of holders. So now what we want to do is say we want to get the percentage. So we want to do equals this divided by sum of that's not working. Alright, so B2 to whatever the last column, fuck, whatever, let's go down here. B3602 to B3602, and so this is interesting. So at least among this data set, and again I want to stress that this is not complete, and this is not a representative sample, I don't think, even of the SafeMoon distribution among their BSC holders. I think it's certainly not a representative distribution in Hoj if you look at the different chains. This is the Ethereum wrapped representation of SafeMoon, but among that data set at least, 76% of their, well, let's do this. I don't know if this actually works, but yeah, there you go. 75.92% of their coins in this data set are held by their top 1%. So that's the kind of thing that I want to look at in this analysis. I want to pivot this onto its head a little bit and say, okay, so the top 1% hold 75% of the coins. What percent holds 90% of the coins? We can kind of see that here. It's somewhere around 6%, but maybe it's not really worth doing that part, since this kind of illustrates the point well enough. But you could do that. You could look at that either way. So either as a function of the top holders or a function of the top some arbitrary percentage of coins. So okay, cool. So we'll delete that out. Let's skip that part. So now let's look at dust accounts. So a big criticism in Hoj is that well, 5,000. This is a month ago, and it was like 60,000-ish holders showing up in Etherscan. And if you'd like to learn more about why that number is wrong, always go back and look at my videos about when we were quote unquote losing holders. But so the common complaint is that Etherscan is showing me all these accounts with just 5 Hoj in them, or just 1 Hoj in them. And what I've been trying to say the whole time is like, well, this is not a Hoj problem. This is an Ethereum chain problem. This happens when people sell. It's very hard to sell out completely. This is less of an issue, it seems like, on the Binance chain. But even there, I've still definitely seen where wallets will have like 1 or 2 of the respective coin. And I think that's just like not representing an actual holder of the thing. It's like an old account. A term we've used to describe those old accounts that maybe have moved the vast majority or their interests. There's some that represents their interest in the project to a different wallet, or have sold that sum. The wallets that represent what's left over after those sales or those transactions take place, we're calling dust accounts. Now Hoj, on the Ethereum chain at least, has somewhere on the order of like 6,000 or something like that dust accounts, and we can look at that when we get to the Hoj sheet. But ultimately, like, that number of dust accounts, it doesn't really matter. Anytime that you're converting across the ETH chain, you're going to have this same problem. And I'm going to illustrate that using SafeMoon here, or this representation of SafeMoon here. But another thing to think about when you're looking at sort of these like dust accounts is that what those represent partially are very much permanently locked tokens that no one's going to access, because it would cost more especially on the Ethereum chain, it would cost more in fees to sell those than it would to just let that wallet sort of sit latent and idle forever. So let's take a look at that. So the number that we use in Hoj commonly is 100,000. That's really based on the value of Hoj. I don't know what the value of SafeMoon is, but we can find out. So this address, I want to say it was this one. And really this isn't fair, because we shouldn't be including their burn address. And I can take that out and we can take a look at that number again. But assuming that this is their burn address, which I think it might be, this is their P token thing here. So let's actually do that here. So this really should be B3. Oops. This should be B3. Okay, and that changes things a lot. 43%. Okay. Yeah, that was disingenuous of me to show those values. But again, this is just sort of spitballing, and also this includes the exchange addresses, and I kind of got to decide if I want to include that in this analysis or not. Those exchange addresses do count. I mean, those are technically holders. I mean, of the thing. It just happens to be that held sum is distributed across a liquidity pool and a bunch of other holders. But anyway, we definitely want to remove the burn address. So here's what it looks like when we remove the burn address. The top 1% of holders hold 43.12% of these coins. Still, we'll see, but I suspect that's a pretty top-heavy number. Now, let's take a look at the dust wallets, and I think we can do this whole thing again, this part, excluding the dust wallets, and we'll get a much more granular picture of what that distribution is. We can sort of eliminate anybody saying, well, you can't include the dust accounts in this because they're dragging down the percentage, and that's true. So when we get to the point where we're actually doing this in a, compiling this into a document, I would definitely want to make sure and include that caveat. All right, so again, we were looking at the price of Hoj, and we said 100,000, sort of arbitrarily. It represented somewhere around $100 worth of Hoj at the time. So let's look at $100 worth of worth of whatever the fuck this thing's called, P tokens. So the price right now is so small. It's 50241. So 0.1. Oops. 0.12345,241. I added an extra 0 in there on accident. Okay, so this is the price. We're going to see how much $100 gets you. Oops. I'm going to use a formula to do that. Equals 100 divided by this value. All right, so $100 gets you 41,493,775. A lot. So that's 100 times more than you would get doing the same thing if you're buying Hoj, but I digress. All right, so let's say count if. Here's our range. Is less than or equal to. Oops. Less than or equal to. This needs to be in quotations. And shit, we need this value. So this is I15 and I15. All right, so there's 2,700. Oh fuck! All right, this is gonna be interesting. So there's 2,719 wallets with less than $100 worth of their coin in them, and as we said before, there's 3,601 total here. So 2,719. So 75% of 20. Basically, only 25% of their holders, again in this specific token, hold more than $100 worth. So we can break this down further. We can $100 again is sort of an arbitrary metric. When we do this live, I want to definitely go through more than just $100. We'll look at up to maybe $1,000 from zero. So every $10 from, or every number of zeros, every order of magnitude from 1 to $1,000 worth of that token, I think would be a good way to do that. So you can look at, you could ascribe your own sort of dust threshold. And we can take those values back up here and look at the top holders among the people that have more than that. And I think that's a much more granular way to do this. Because I think it is a little disingenuous to say, oh, well, they're 75% of their holders, or sorry, 43% of their holders own the top, or 43% of their coins are held by the top 1% of their holders. Well, the people that we use in this calculation aren't all holders, right? You'd have to to figure out, a comfortable number for what you think is a holder, and we can do that very easily with these coins by converting them to US dollars. So there you have it. That's sort of the analysis I'm doing. I'm actually not going to pull up the Hoj document and do this there because I don't think it's going to add anything to this video. You can see what we're trying to do here. Ultimately, what we will have is a series of these columns with the name of the token, token X, token Y, and so forth, with the proportion and the percentage, and we'll have one of these sheets for each different dust threshold. And then we can make a graph from each of those dust thresholds. And I've already thought about this. The graph, let's just draw what I'm thinking. I think this is going to be really cool, a good way to visualize this information. Here comes Inkscape. So I'm thinking we'll do the actual circles, the actual logos of the coins. So we'll have a vertical plane, and then we'll have ticks here, somewhere in the middle here. I'm not going to spend too much time formatting this correctly, but so and along this axis, it's only going to be a single axis, and going in the vertical direction, it'll be the proportion of token held by top 1%, right? So we'll have one of these documents, for each percentage value that we're using here. Let's turn that sideways. That way's better. So proportion of token held by top 1%, and then we'll have these like marks. Oh, I forgot. Circles are a huge pain in the ass. Like marks like this. Oops. All along this axis representing the different coins, like, you know, Hoj, SafeMoon, and so on. And then we'll have the scale here will be, of course, at proportion, so it'll be like 100 top, 50, and 0. And I want to do this as like an infographic kind of, so I want to have the actual symbols. You know, we have the little Hoj dog symbol for Hoj and so on. I want those to be what's shown here, and show how this distribution occurs across these different coins. We'll have one for each top proportion, a sheet like this for each top proportion, and I can disaggregate that to using those dust thresholds. So this is going to be pretty technical shit. It's going to go pretty deep. It's going to take a long time. And you can severely cut down on the time that I spend doing this if we can crowdsource the collection of these chains. I want to do this, start working on this sometime next week, or at least get the scaffolding set up so that I can make these spreadsheets really quickly. But that requires that I have all these addresses, and I don't. So if you want to contribute to this project, and I request that you do, definitely hit me up on the Telegram or the Discord if you want to, and find me there. But I'm going to make a Google Sheet, a Google Doc, that's going to have what you see here. It's just going to be markup like this, and you can see sort of how to write this out. We've got the term, or the name of the coin, the title, and then the contract addresses for each of the different chains. If you find a new chain that's not on this list, add it. You can just do a comma, add it to the bottom, and stick that in there. We're going to have all these things, and anybody can edit it and add in the coins that they find, or the contract addresses that they find. The quicker we can get this sheet filled out, and if you think of another coin that you'd like to add to this, definitely do. I'm not, if I can do this right and automate this the way I think I can, this won't be some crazy amount of time working on preparing these documents. So the more the merrier, the more stuff that actually lends to this project. And if we miss something, or we miss an address or something like that, when I do this actual analysis and I do the video, it's all going to be documented. So you'll be able to go back and look at all of the addresses we use. People can verify them. I want this to be super transparent, and I'm not planning on Hoj being the best of this list. I'm not planning on that winning this project. That's not my intention. I want to do an actual technical analysis of this stuff in a way that no one has really done before, and I have the tools to do it. So keep an eye out for the Google Doc. I will post it in the description of the video that gets recorded here. I don't have it ready right now, so I can't post it in the chat, but yeah, help me with this. The more you help, the better the product will be, the more we'll all be able to benefit from this analysis, and I think you'll be able to make a more informed decision about where you direct your interests in these projects. This is sort of the showdown, and I intend to be the one that does it honestly. So if you want to help with that, yeah, hit me up. Check the description when this is ready, and get to it. The more the merrier. Let's get something working. All right, that's the end of the video. Good night. Good night, Marine 1 225, and whoever else.